So I just purchased 880,000 points, and I kind of regret it. Now, the points I purchased were hotel points, specifically from Hilton and IHG, because I had an upcoming trip and didn't have enough points, but I wanted to use points to book my hotel stays. Of course, I bought these points when they were at a 100% sale, but even with that bonus, was that the right thing to do? Because looking back, I'm not sure that it was. So in this video, I'm going to go over my thought process, why I decided to purchase these points, and after it was all said and done, what I learned from this experience. And so to start, I'd like to cover why you'd even consider purchasing points in the first place. When we talk about purchasing points, this generally falls into two categories: airline points and hotel points. And while I've heard some good things about purchasing Aeroplan points while they're on sale, this isn't something that I'm super familiar with as I don't fly internationally very often. But I will say that I'm a big believer of purchasing hotel points for the right reasons, and I recommend this with two hotel chains in particular, Hilton and IHG. While both hotel programs routinely offer points for sale at 1 cent per point, you should never ever buy points at this rate. The better thing to do is to wait for a 100% bonus sale, meaning you get double the number of points per dollar spent, essentially buying them for half a penny each. And so this is the first reason why purchasing points can make sense, because if you're able to redeem these points for a hotel stay at higher than half a cent per point, you're getting a discount. That is, if you were going to use cash to purchase a stay at the hotel anyways. And of course, we want to incorporate that into our earn and burn strategy, where when you earn or purchase these points, you use them right away. Now, this is a great strategy, but the problem is this: these 100% sales aren't always around. So then the questions become, do you buy these points when you can, or do you wait until you have a redemption first and then hope a 100% point sale is around at that time? And I think it depends on your situation, but we're going to hash out the answer to that question as we move forward in this video. A second reason why purchasing points may make sense is that if you don't have enough for a particular redemption, you can get points pretty quickly with money. Now, there are other ways to get points into your account quickly, for example, with flexible point currencies. But in the context of transferring flexible points to hotel programs, it's going to come with an opportunity cost, because those points could be used for a better redemption, for example, when redeeming international first or business class flights. And I wouldn't necessarily do this for an entire hotel stay, but if you already had some points and were short like 5,000 points or something, I'd say that despite the math, it's not a big deal to transfer flexible points to those hotel programs when that happens. With Hilton, this is pretty reasonable, especially if you do so when there's a transfer bonus of 1 MR point to 2.5 Hilton points. With IHG, it's probably a lot less worth it, as a 1-to-1 UR point to IHG transfer ratio is a terrible conversion no matter how you look at it. But again, if you were short like 1,000 to 2,000 points, I think it'd still be okay. In any case, I'm on the side of the fence where I think it's better to save those flexible point currencies for international first and business class travel if that's something you plan on booking in the near future. And so with that in mind, I almost never purchase my personal Hilton or IHG stays with cash and always use points instead. Okay, so that's how I approach purchasing points for Hilton and IHG specifically, but what was the situation that I was in? Well, at this point, most of my trips through the rest of 2025 have already been booked, so I was pretty confident that I wouldn't need any more points for the rest of the year. But then, my wife and I received a wedding invitation from one of her friends for later this year in Vermont, which we're really excited about, but now we needed to book this new trip. And since we live in Southern California, Vermont is pretty far. So while it'd be cheaper to just fly out there for the weekend, our thought was maybe it'd be better to make a trip out of it while we were there. And since we don't travel internationally that often, we decided to head up to Canada the week before and visit the beautiful city of Montreal. We haven't been to Montreal in about 10 years, and since the city is only a short drive away from Vermont, our plan was to fly to Montreal, drive down to Vermont for the wedding, and then fly home. So for our hotels, we were looking at a 5-night stay in Montreal and a 2-night stay in Burlington, Vermont. And so at this point, I'd like to book a hotel. And when I start this process, I have this 3-tier hotel strategy where I look for properties at Marriott, then Hilton, then IHG. And while I certainly prefer Marriott hotels, I went through most of my Marriott points on my recent honeymoon redemption, and I've already used my free night certificates for this year as well, so Marriott is pretty much out this time around. And so that leaves Hilton and IHG as the remaining options. With Hilton, I had around 220,000 points, and with IHG, I had around 80,000 points. Now, full disclosure, we were looking for luxury hotels for this trip, so while we certainly had plenty of points to book a low to mid-tier hotel on points, that wasn't our goal. Having said this, I do want to quickly mention that when it comes to these types of properties, like mid-tier properties, Holiday Inn Express has become my new favorite mid-tier option, especially for business purposes. I've been to Courtyards, Fairfield, Residence Inns, Town Place Suites, and Garden Inns, and I have to say, Holiday Inn and Holiday Inn Express has really impressed me with their comfortable beds and rooms, free breakfast offerings, and affordable cost. But since this is a leisure trip and more of a vacation, I wanted to stay somewhere nicer, and my wife is probably going to be happy with that decision too. Okay, so here was our first situation. We wanted to book a luxury hotel for 5 nights, and since Marriott was out, Hilton was the way to go since it has that 5th night free option. We had briefly considered staying at the Intercontinental Montreal for 4 nights instead since we're Ambassador Platinum Elite with IHG. But since we didn't have enough points for the redemption, and at the time there wasn't a 100% sale on points, that option was also out. Now for the Hilton hotels in the area, the standard room rewards were set at 70,000 points per night. And so if we wanted to stay 5 nights, that would be 280,000 points, since we do get that 5th night free, making a short 60,000 Hilton points. So with that in mind, what were our available options? Well, of course, we could always get a new credit card and earn that welcome offer. As an example, the Hilton Surpass card currently has an elevated welcome offer to earn 130,000 Hilton Honors points plus a free night award after spending $3,000 in the first 6 months. So if we count the minimum spend on the card plus the conservative estimate of all that spend on the 3x multiplier, that would earn us 139,000 Hilton Honors points for $3,150 in spending, which would get us the points that we needed. But one of the downsides of this is that we'd have to open a new credit card, and my wife and I are trying to hold off on new credit card applications since we may apply for a mortgage in the future. And this really sucks because that free night reward offer is so tempting, but sadly, it's not the right time for us right now. Another interesting idea was to go for the Hilton Business Card, which also currently has an elevated welcome offer to earn 175,000 Hilton Honors points, but for $8,000 in spend in 6 months. As an Amex Business Card, this wouldn't add a new inquiry or a new account to our credit reports, as we both already have personal American Express cards. But while the spend is doable for us in that time frame, it's not really what we're looking for right now. The next method to earn more Hilton points would be to spend on our existing no annual fee Hilton Honors card, but to earn 60,000 Hilton points, we'd have to spend $20,000 on that card at the 3x level, which is 100% not worth it, so that method was out. Another option was to look at our transferable currencies and see how we could get 60,000 Hilton points that way. As you all know, the 2 programs that transfer to Hilton are American Express and Bilt, and we have access to both programs. We also picked the right time to book our hotel because Amex was having their 25% transfer bonus promotion to Hilton at a 1 to 2.5 ratio, and March 1st was also right around the corner, so Bilt also had their rent day promotion to transfer 1 Bilt point to 3 Hilton Honors points. So using these numbers, we could transfer 24,000 MR points or 20,000 Bilt points for 60,000 Hilton Honors points. Okay, so not bad, but there was one other option, and that was, of course, to buy points, and the current promotion was to get a 100% bonus if you purchase between 5,000 and 240,000 Hilton Honors points. So with that bonus, you could spend $50 for 10,000 points, or up to $2,400 for 480,000 points. Now in our situation, we could have spent $300 for those 60,000 Hilton Honors points. And to help you visualize our situation even better, I made this table to show you what available options we had to acquire those 60,000 points. And for our situation, when I looked at the following options, the one that made the most sense to me was to buy points. Sure, I could have transferred points over from American Express or Bilt, but as Amex MR points are so valuable for those international airline partners, and Bilt points are so valuable for redemptions like Hyatt and Alaska Airlines, I decided to save those points for another day. So I pulled out my credit card and started to put in my information when it hit me. What if I have this situation happen again? Maybe I should just purchase the maximum amount of points right now. And so I thought about it for several minutes and I decided to go for it, and $2,400 later, I had 480,000 more Hilton points in my account. Without getting into the weeds too much, I did end up booking the Vogue Hotel in Montreal for 5 nights, with that 5th night free costing me 280,000 points, resulting in a 0.85 cent per point redemption value. So not the best value, but certainly higher than 0.5 cent per point on a stay I was going to book in cash anyways. So I'd call that a win. And it turns out that buying all those points did end up being helpful, because we then found a very nice property in Burlington, Vermont for a 2-night stay where we used 140,000 points for a 1.1 cent per point redemption, which was even better than that first one. The nice thing is that after going through all of that, we were still left with around 280,000 Hilton Honors points. And that's good because if another 5-night trip comes up, As long as the Hilton property has a standard room reward cost of 70,000 points or less, we could do that booking without doing anything else. Okay, so a lot of you may be asking yourselves, well, Stan, it sounds like you're pretty happy with your decision, so what's the issue here? Well, it's about what happened next. About a week after I purchased those Hilton points, I received this email letting me know that IHG points were now on sale for a limited time with a 100% boost. Now, I know that these 100% sales pop up multiple times per year, but as I had just had the situation come up right now where I didn't have enough points, I thought to myself, should I just go for it now while the sale is still going on? So again, I weighed the pros and cons of buying points versus the other available options. I could apply for a new IHG card, which was certainly one option, as at the time of the recording of this video, there was an elevated offer to earn 170,000 bonus points after spending $4,000 on purchases in the first 3 months. I could spend on my current IHG Business Premier card to earn points, or I could transfer points to IHG from either Chase or Bilt at a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, except for the first option where I'd apply for a new credit card, the other options weren't really that great, so I'd like to avoid those ones if I could. And since I'm not in the position to apply for a new card right now, I caved and bought the maximum amount of IHG points as well, spending $2,000 to get 400,000 IHG points. Now, this decision in of itself isn't bad necessarily, but unlike the Hilton situation I had, I bought these IHG points without any specific redemption in mind, which is something that I try not to do. I guess it's not all that bad because now I have 280,000 Hilton Honors points and 480,000 IHG points ready to deploy for my next redemptions, whenever that may be. And while that's nice, I did spend $4,400 for 880,000 hotel points, and I'm still trying to figure out if I did the right thing or not. Now, the reason why I'm making a big deal about this is because I wanted to give you a first-hand account of the decisions we make with points and miles. I know that on my channel, I'm a big advocate of earn and burn. That is, using your points as soon as possible and not letting them sit around, since unused points really have no value at all. But at the same time, trying to follow that mantra myself is easier said than done. Now, to be clear, I don't regret buying the maximum number of Hilton points with the 100% sale because it made sense for me in that situation. I was able to accomplish my goal of redeeming points to get a discount on the stays I was already going to book with cash anyways, and I have points left over for another Hilton booking if something else comes up. But what I'm not super proud of is purchasing those IHG points afterwards. I didn't have an IHG stay ready to book at the time when I purchased those points, and even if another trip comes up, I still have enough Hilton points to cover it. And so why did I even end up buying those points? Well, I think that my mind was at a vulnerable point where I didn't want to be in the position where I saw an opportunity to book an IHG hotel for an upcoming trip and not having the points to do so. Now, I will say that I'll definitely use all those points up at some point. IHG has a great portfolio of properties, and I plan to stay at more and more IHG hotels due to their prominent presence in Asia. Who knows? Maybe this could be motivation to book that next international trip, since I certainly have enough points for a pretty fantastic redemption with both Hilton and IHG. But since I bought those IHG points, that $2,000 is gone, and that could have been put to use elsewhere, so I probably jumped the gun too fast on that purchase. For me, the learning point is this: I'm going to be more intentional when purchasing points. And I know that if you're watching this video, you're a savvy spender, but your individual travel goals may be different. Some of you might be like my good friend Dugraz from Dugraz Reports and are looking to earn points and miles for free travel and not spend any extra money on those trips, or at the very least, as little money as possible. Or you could be like my good friend Uncle Luke from Luke's Points and Miles, who doesn't mind purchasing the maximum number of points every year, like I just did, and understand that there's a cost to the points and miles game, but being able to book trips at a significant discount is still worth it to make those travel dreams a reality. For me, I don't mind purchasing points because I think it's a powerful option, but I think I may have went overboard this time around, and in the future, I'm going to be better and only purchase points when I have a specific redemption in mind. Okay, so those are my thoughts on purchasing points, specifically from Hilton and IHG, using my own personal experience as an example. While this was a good learning experience, I still struggle with this decision, and I guess I'll ultimately know if buying those extra IHG points was a good move whenever I make my next hotel redemption. And IHG has a very strong rewards program that should not be underestimated. And to see the 3 strategies that I learned for massive value at IHG hotels, check out this video next.